Unlike many other volcanic archipelagos, the Canary Islands are set on an oceanic crust thick enough to allow islands to mature and get to an old age. They keep in their memory changes of their past, stories woven word by the genes hidden in their biodiversity. Even if their natural resources have been used intensely, they continue being real evolution labs. Fortresses of amazing nature, crucial for the survival of unique species. Gran Canaria is large, mature, and full of contrasts. On the west side, steep massifs stand out, furrowed by the deep wounds of water and time. Peaks and slopes are but a shadow of what they were just a few centuries ago. When well-being and the economy traced a new roadmap that led to the destruction of its valuable natural patrimony to the very root. Endemic species that didn't go extinct then are about to do it now. The Canarian wild tomato is part of that sad legacy of ashes. There are only 3 specimens left, lost like aliens in the extremely transformed transition between the Laurel Forest and the Thermophilous woodland. The Canary Island pine forests took over, but the demand was so great that native trees were not enough, and they imported them from Tenerife and La Palma. Keeping for centuries the production of tar made out of torch, the precious marrow of these trees, meant the destruction of the forest. It was also the skeleton that kept the wood from rotting, the life insurance for specimens to live longer than 50 years. Even if they can reach considerable heights, growing is secondary. What's important is surviving. Almost an illusion in islands born from fire. Millions of years of volcanic activity molded this jewel, making it resistant to flames and dryness. The 4,000 hectares of Inagua, Ojeda, and Pajonales were kept safe thanks to ancient royal laws. They later became hunting areas, and now they are part of the integral reserve. In these heated pine forests facing south, some winters bring abundant rain that runs down the gullies. The small number of Inagua sunroses survives in a continuous ebb and flow. It reaches absolute minimums when its reduced longevity coincides with long droughts, and then recovers in the following generation. finding humidity doesn't seem easy. However, this land snail of the genus Napius, formerly known only for a few empty shells, has been successfully doing it for years. It is much easier for the canary grayling to locate a water spring. The great spotted woodpecker depends on the vital cycle of the pines to complete its own. It needs dead trunks with enough diameter to comfortably drill its breeding hole. Here, we can find all kinds. With a lot of sunshine and very little shade, it may have been the last, but not the best, refuge of the blue chaffinch, one of the rarest birds of Europe. Summer is a furnace, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees Celsius, exceeding the tolerance limit of many species. A recent fire that devastated the southwest of Gran Canaria made everyone fear the worst. After an initial sharp drop, the pearl of this forest recovered to similar numbers of breeding couples. The fire forced them to search for an alternative to extinction. The key was in the more humid Canary pine forests of the peak. Apart from being refuges from the heat of the summer, they worked as passages for some to go further north, to Tamadaba. A compact patch of Canary Island pines escaped from the fire, partly because of its public practical use, even if they were plundered on occasions. Their decay was not severe, and today they display a beauty probably comparable to that of days gone by. A forest with sparrowhawks is a forest with balance, and this forest has them. Consolidated at the top of the food chain, this highly skilled hunter is in charge of bringing the smaller birds to heel. A family implies unavoidable obligations. It demands food, and no delays are accepted. A few decades ago, watching this predator was quite an event. It got to the border of extinction, just like the forests that were its shelter. Its destiny and the destiny of the forest run in parallel. Because it faces north, the locality of Tamadaba is a bit fresher, but water is also scarce here. During hard times in the neighborhood, not everyone comes for the same reason. Chiffchaffs are attracted by the large number of mosquitoes, which they catch with impressive skill. As well as a bath, the blackbird seeks mud. It is a skillful builder. Mud is used as cement to stick the nest to the branches. With gale-proof foundations, nothing can stop it from successfully completing the breeding period. The arrival of the robins hides no surprises, unless the surprise is them. They are different. A new subspecies that got here 2 million years ago, long before the other robins of the island. The singular genetic structure of the Gran Canaria stick grasshopper characterizes it as a very different branch from the other canary species. Perhaps this supports its larger ability for occupying various habitats, and probably for a wider diet than its relatives. Searching for tender acicular leaves, they reach the top of the canary pines, something quite impressive for a wingless animal. They must have found another way. All Canarian stick grasshoppers share a taste for spurges. Even when leaves are abundant, they sometimes prefer to skin the trunk, eating the sour latex that oozes out. In the simple nest of the long-eared owl, the smallest chicks get warm next to the firstborn. But after hours without food, the group becomes impatient. In its last adventure, this night shift worker has killed 2 birds with 1 stone. This time it is a brown rat, a hard nut to crack and a serious danger for the local biodiversity. And with that, the problem of discontent is also solved, a problem that repeats itself from dusk till dawn of the spring months. Hunger presses on the youngest one, although it might have miscalculated the size, and the outcome seems uncertain. This nocturnal bird of prey knows its trade well. Darkness has just begun, and they have already defeated another fearful predator of foreign lands. Now, the principle of might is right has put things in its place. And geographical lineages. It's like a black box that keeps the secret to changes of the past, a past with intense volcanic activity. In the south, we find the most beautiful, the ones with golden bodies and tails carved in lapis lazuli. If water shapes the ravine, stone is its soul. Set in tiny cracks grows the Cerraja colgante, with its distinctive spear-shaped leaves. The Gran Canaria figwort shares a weakness for cracks, although it needs the fresher middle and high stretches of certain ravines. If conditions are favorable, this rare Gran Canaria endemism is capable of reproducing from stolons. With almost 100 specimens, Doramas hosts one of the most important colonies. Its flowers must have a special secret to justify such a crowded and mixed audience. The Crestas de Gallo are another victim of the cyclone that led to the destruction of amazing forests. Despite being able to bloom several times per year, their dispersion capacity is very limited. Drought brings ups and downs that have even led to the extinction of complete colonies. Even if torn apart, the small redoubts of the Laurel Forest are still important for the Chaffinch. Its number is probably the lowest of the Canary Islands, but it holds a precious secret. Only here do they continue to evolve to become endemic. In the middle of spring, the sow thistles are an unexpected curiosity for the canaries. It is not a matter of hunger. The seeds are too small for their strong beaks. They want the papus that will make their nests warmer and more comfortable, and they take them in bundles. Gran Canaria has established itself as an insular evolutionary center of many living groups. Biodiversity grows, but the human population grows even faster, smothering valuable natural ecosystems. Some formations of Piñamar, a coastal bush of stunted appearance, were lost in recent times due to the urbanization of the coasts. The Gran Canaria dragon tree has managed to go unnoticed for science, perhaps because in their distant redoubts it is nothing but a simple dragon tree. But in reality, it is different from the others and seriously endangered. Less than 80 specimens remain. Surrounded by civilization, the Amagro Mountain is a fortress for endemic flora. This legume plant is the only representative of its genre in all the Micronesia, and due to its very recent discovery, the connection with other continental species is still unknown. The Amagro ironwort is formed by a single group of 7 specimens that take shelter in almost inaccessible walls. The Arenas Peak is one of few dune formations of Gran Canaria. In this hidden coastal sandfield, with a surface of only 1 square kilometer, we find plants with a very limited insular distribution. This curious leafless spurge called tolda has thin and cylindrical stems that do all the photosynthetic activity. This bird's foot trefoil only grows along the western coast of the island, just like the rare La Aldea sea lavender, one of the 7 known species of Gran Canaria. The Tentiniguada corner is also a fortress of nature, but here biodiversity is expressed in colors. This patch of buglosses is the largest of the whole island, and even if they are all of the same species, The range of colors is impressive. Birds don't come here to sip, probably because of the low production of nectar. The Canarian hairy rose beetle is one of the few visitors. The locality of Barranco de los Cernícolos hides one of the best redoubts of Canary wild olive tree patches of the entire archipelago. Together with mastic trees and Mount Atlas mastic trees, they were the marrow of the Gran Canaria thermophilous woodland, now reduced to small traces. The permanent presence of water supports a spectacular Canary's willow forest. The Canary Bellflower is a climbing plant, endemic and frequent in dark and humid places. In the summer, it loses the aerial part that will grow again from the root with the autumn rain. Its amazing bell-like flowers seem to toll in a language that the Chifchafs understand. And loyalty has its reward. The distant Canary Island pine forests of the south of Gran Canaria are the door to a remote history of advances and retreats, of colonization and extinction. Only a confusing past could explain the extraordinary genetic diversity of the Canary Island pines that survive in conditions of extreme dryness. Their genes could hide the secret code for the forecast and feared climate change, one of the greatest challenges to face in the impending future. The nature of the island learnt from the species that arrived against their will, dragged by human occupation. Novelty can be compatible with the deepest roots. Every cloud has a silver lining. The agave's inflorescences are nectar springs, an unexpected energy source that attracts canaries like moths to a flame. Prickly pear fruits are exultant in the middle of the winter. Their sweet pulp is a bird call for chiffchaffs and blue tits. It is a convenient strategy when daily resources are scarce. Even robins, that have a more insectivore diet, have discovered this delicacy. Gran Canaria is an important fortress for biodiversity, and it hosts a high number of endemisms. But it is also home to 40% of the endangered species of the archipelago. It is a distressing balance. The moment has come to combine efforts and row in the right direction. Only then will there be a safe port for this ship of redoubts still brimming with life.